No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of Friday Night Smackdown for October 6th, 2023. A very interesting Smackdown this week. Some build up for Fastlane and some interesting teases on this show. Shout out to everybody watching, whether it's live or on demand. I appreciate your viewership and support. Now, with that being said, let's get down to this SmackDown. A lot to discuss. We opened up with footage shown from last week, LA Knight becoming John Cena's partner. We had LA Knight coming out to the ring. I did want to note there was a fan in the stands that had a cutout face. And this was maybe my all-time favorite cutout faces. Usually I find them annoying, like that busted open guy. You see his face sometimes, but this one was great. It was Kevin Nash dressed up as Arn Anderson from the NWO parody of the Four Horsemen back in 1997, where he said, "I'm going to offer you a spot with the Horsemen. Not my dog spot, not a liver spot, but my spot." He was offering that spot to Curt Hennig. And of course, Curt Hennig turned against the Horsemen and joined the NWO. I think Buff Bagwell was Curt Hennig in that skit. Great segment. If you never saw it, go back and watch it. It's a classic. Anyways, back to SmackDown here. We had, and yes, Matthew, perfectly timed. LA Knight, Kevin Nash, they've been going back and forth a little bit, so that was great timing. Anyways, before Knight could really say anything, and this is how you get heat. You interrupt LA Knight before he can even speak. People want to hear the guy talk. You had Paul Heyman and the Bloodline show up, minus Roman Reigns, but Roman Reigns will be back next week. He's returning. This is like the 20th time now that Roman Reigns has returned. Seriously, they've done like at least a dozen. I think realistically, there's at least been a dozen graphics of Roman Reigns returning. There's even a meme about it now. But Heyman was out there, and he did admit he's seen a lot of big things, and he does think LA Knight is the next big thing. He offered compliments and condolences because now LA Knight has to deal with the big time. He has to deal with the Bloodline. LA Knight said he appreciated the compliment, but he's not buying Paul Heyman's BS. Then Jimmy Uso got on the mic and said that LA Knight is not going to make it to Fastlane. They surrounded the ring. John Cena showed up. John Cena came in, and LA Knight challenged Jimmy Uso to a singles match in the main event. Jimmy Uso accepted the challenge, and it was all set to conclude this week's SmackDown. We'll get to that in a few minutes. We had our first match of the evening, which was Charlotte and Asuka going up against Io Sky and Bayley of Damage Control. The usual, can they coexist type deal? And they actually could for pretty much the whole match here. They were working well together. Bayley was working well with Io. Bayley took a bullet for Io, and then Asuka came off the top with a double drop kick onto both of them. But then during the break, with help from Dakota Kai, Damage Control got the upper hand. Charlotte was not happy with this. She was interfering, and eventually Charlotte was able to get the hot tag. You had Asuka and Charlotte going for a superplex on Bayley, but then Io came in and powerbombed them as they superplexed Io. We got the Tower of Doom spot, which always gets the big pop from the crowd. And Charlotte and Asuka were able to recover from this, but then Charlotte accidentally gave a big boot to Asuka, but somehow still managed to pick up the win. Bayley, after all, is the eater of pinfalls, and Charlotte pinned her with the natural selection. So Charlotte builds up momentum. I'm feeling even more confident with my prediction that Io will retain at the Premium Live event. And if you missed our predictions, it's up now on demand, youtube.com/AaronRift, or nodq.com/YouTube. Easy access to the No DQ YouTube channel. And if you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up and spread the word. Tell a friend. Backstage, we had an interesting segment. We had the Bloodline finding Judgment Day in their locker room. Rhea Ripley was there and said that they need to have a chat. She needed to speak with Paul Heyman one-on-one. After an intense stare down between Solo and Damian Priest, they left. Crowd was chanting mommy in the background. They love Rhea Ripley. More on this in just a moment. We had Rey Mysterio versus Bobby Lashley. Lashley's first TV match in quite some time. Lashley was being all intimidating, staring down Rey in the corner, and Lashley was dominating early on. Rey avoided a dominator and hit a springboard moonsault, but Lashley kicked out at one. Lashley regained control. And eventually, Rey was able to build some momentum. He had a 619 and then went for a second 619. But guess what? Street Profits attacked LWO at ringside. Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde, they got beat up. Rey went after the Profits to try and save his friends, but then he went back in the ring. Lashley hit him with the spear and got the 1-2-3 victory. Pretty much every Rey Mysterio versus Big Man match with the usual stupid baby face, but, he was concerned for his buddies getting beat up, cost him the match. There you go. I guess Rey knows, considering his history over the years, you can lose a lot of matches. Look back at his world title reign in 2006, for instance, and you could still overcome that. So I guess if anybody knows, wins and losses don't really matter that much. It's Rey Mysterio. Now, backstage, Rhea Ripley talked to Paul Heyman and said that Paul Heyman's the wise man and he is going to make a wise decision because she proposed the Bloodline and Judgment Day work together. This kind of reminds me of like the corporate ministry where the two big factions merge. That would actually be interesting if they did that for a couple of months. I would not be opposed to that. Heyman said he likes the idea, but he's got to have it authorized by the tribal chief Roman Reigns, and Rhea warned that it better get done. Otherwise, there could be issues between the Bloodline and Judgment Day. And she even told Heyman to acknowledge her. They had an NXT commercial. I guess I'll talk about this real quick. There was a commercial for this Tuesday's NXT. Now, tell me you consider AEW competition without telling me AEW's competition. They got John Cena, Asuka, Cody Rhodes on this show coming up this Tuesday. And the icing on the cake at the very end of the commercial, dong, Undertaker. Undertaker is apparently going to be at NXT this Tuesday. Talk about bringing all the big guns. So much for it being a marathon and not a sprint. WWE wants to make sure they win the ratings battle this Tuesday. And I think they will. I mean, I'm feeling pretty confident that NXT will beat AEW, probably in 18-49 also. I think overall viewership, it's almost certain to happen, and they'll probably win the 18-49 demo too. I think they have a decent shot of 1 million with John Cena, Undertaker, the buzz going in, Cody Rhodes. And this is on Tony Khan's birthday too. Poor Tony. Gonna get whooped by WWE. I think this is just to beat Edge more than AEW, Adam Copeland's going to be doing his first match. Although after Wednesday's Dynamite number, they might not have too much to be worried about. But they're going all in, to use AEW's term, now with the Undertaker being teased for this show. Anyways, back to SmackDown. We had Dragon Lee, who apparently is part of the main roster now. He was so impressive in that match with Dominic that they're fast-tracking him to the main roster. Dragon Lee versus Austin Theory. Theory cut a promo before the match and bragged about being the 150 million hit man because of all the views that his video with The Rock got, and said that Dragon Lee is going to have a 150-second long career. Lee had the early momentum, but Grayson Waller showed up, and Waller interfered on multiple occasions. Theory took advantage. Waller was getting on the apron, and the crowd was very much behind Dragon. They were chanting, "Let's go, Dragon." And Lee started to make his comeback. Waller pulled Theory to the outside of the ring, so Lee came over the top with a dive onto them, got Theory back in the ring, but then a cheap shot from Waller. At this point, Cameron Grimes showed up to go after Waller and even the odds. Theory was distracted by this, so this time it was the stupid heel. Theory was distracted. Lee rolled up Theory and got the 1-2-3 victory. Dragon Lee gets a big win, and looks like he is going to be a full-fledged member of SmackDown moving forward. I suspect. I mean, this was an obvious setup for a tag team match, probably next week or maybe 2 weeks from now. Michael sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Michael. I appreciate it. It says, Dominic beating Edge in the rating this week. Yeah, I think there's a pretty good chance of that happening if Dominic is in fact going to be on SmackDown. But I like to look at it as John Cena and Edge's rivalry continues. They're going to be going head-to-head now in the form of NXT versus AEW Dynamite. Backstage, Rhea Ripley was talking to Jimmy Uso, and then we had Rey Mysterio with Santos Escobar. Apparently, the Street Profits put a hurting on Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro. Rey said that they need a new partner for Saturday, and Rey then said he's going to make a phone call. Who can this be? I think they're going to have a pretty cool partner, if I had to make a bold prediction. And I told Noah Foster this. You guys watch our predictions video. I went with Lashley's team winning, but I'm changing my pick now. I don't think it's going to be Dragon Lee. I think they got to find a substitute in the LWO. So my guess is it's Carlito. Could be Dragon Lee, but Dragon Lee's got this whole thing with Theory and Waller going on, and Carlito is an honorary member of the LWO. This would be the time to bring him back if they're going to bring him back, and that's been rumored for months now. So I think it's going to be Carlito, and even if it's Dragon Lee, I think Rey's team's winning now. Like I don't see them doing the big mystery partner just for them to lose. I'm going with Rey Mysterio's team to win. I'm officially changing my pick for Fastlane. And no, I do not think it's going to be CM Punk. But we're going to talk about CM Punk here in just a minute because things are getting very interesting. Walter Cruz sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Walter. I appreciate the super chat. Says, I'm going to guess the mystery partner will either be Carlito or Dragon Lee. Anyways, like, share, subscribe, and comment on the video. Hashtag stick to my shtick. But the question is, your prediction. Are you going with Lashley's team or LWO? That's what I want to know, Walter. Let me know who you're going with. I would say CM Punk being the mystery partner is highly unlikely in all likelihood. And Psycho Jet Black says Alberto Del Rio. I would say even more highly unlikely in all likelihood. All right. We had a video package shown for Shinsuke Nakamura and Seth Rollins, and Damian Priest was watching while holding his Money in the Bank contract. So they did the big tease here, which makes me feel confident it's not happening here because it would be too obvious. Like when they do the Money in the Bank cash in, I feel like usually they don't telegraph it because they want you to be surprised. They don't want you to think, oh, this might be when the cash in happens. They want you to not expect it. They want it to happen at a time you're not expecting it. And now, since they've put it into our brain, I don't think it's going to happen. So I am feeling confident with that prediction that I said the cash in will not happen. There'll probably be the tease, but I do not see it playing out with a cash in. Now, they were hyping up several things. So next week, Pretty Deadly back in action, going up against the Brawling Brutes. And we also got an official confirmation, besides Roman Reigns returning. They said this is the season premiere of SmackDown next week, because it's October. It's the anniversary of when SmackDown started. So I guess that's technically the season premiere. Triple H is going to be on SmackDown, and I'm wondering, could this be the War Games announcement? Will it be Survivor Series, or will he announce something for Crown Jewel? Has to be one of those two, right? Like he's going to announce a big match for either Crown Jewel or Survivor Series. That's what I'm thinking, at least. Now, they were hyping up the Fastlane card. Still only 5 matches, by the way. And there's another hot rumor that Jade Cargill might be at Fastlane. That's a rumor. She's going to be there. Maybe she's going to make her debut at the Premium Live event. Maybe that'll be an impromptu match where she comes out there and beats up somebody or just has a segment. But as of now, still only 5 matches. And a couple people in the chat room brought up Randy Orton as a potential mystery partner for Rey Mysterio. I still don't think that that's going to happen either, even though Randy Orton should be coming back. I mean, all the indications are that he will be back, and he's been at the Performance Center as of late, and he's not keeping it a secret. They definitely want people to start talking about him. But again, they want it to be a surprise. Like, is it really going to be him as a mystery partner? I feel like they would just have him randomly show up out of nowhere. Randy Orton out of nowhere. And Psycho Jet Black, William Regal cannot appear just yet. I think it has to be a full year from his AEW departure. So beginning of 2024, I think, is when he can start appearing again. During the hype for Fastlane, Corey Graves said the following. He said, as Seth Rollins' face popped up on the screen, Corey Graves said, and I quote, "The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was making the world forget that he existed." This was something CM Punk said back in Ring of Honor, one of his most famous promos. And they even referenced that when MJF was feuding with CM Punk in 2022. Very interesting. Like, there are reports out that WWE was not intending to tease CM Punk. There's been several lines over the past few weeks that seem to be very subtle teases of CM Punk coming back. Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes used the best in the world term, which, okay, fine. It's a common term. But then Michael Cole said something on Raw about a puppeteer and becoming a puppet, which is also something that CM Punk said in Ring of Honor. And how often is that line used about a puppeteer and a puppet? Not that often. And now this line, when has that ever been uttered on a WWE broadcast? I don't recall it ever being said ever. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was making the world forget that he exists. I don't think that's ever been uttered on a WWE program, to my knowledge. So I don't think this is a coincidence. I think that they are intentionally teasing CM Punk. The Bray Wyatt build up last year when he came back, they did these very subtle teases and it generated a ton of buzz. And WWE knows how to get people talking and building up hype without actually having to say something on television. Corey Graves trended on Twitter/X, Twix, as Jeff Meacham would say. After tonight, I think he's coming back. Like, I know there's conflicting reports. He might come back, but a lot of people don't want him back, and WWE's not really interested. But I mean, there is no way that this was a coincidence on this night with Seth Rollins' picture there. I mean, no way. I'm not buying that it's a coincidence. I think that they know damn well what they're doing. And if he does not show up now at Survivor Series or Royal Rumble, that's on WWE. If people get pissed off, it's on WWE now because they're teasing it. So now I think they have to deliver. And if people get mad, you know, you can argue, well, WWE never actually announced it, but they know what they're doing here. They know the power of social media. They know people pick up on these things, on these cryptic little references. They know people get it and it's going to blow up. They damn well know. I mean, the Bray Wyatt thing, they knew what they were doing then, and I think they know what they're doing now. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Psycho. Welcome back. We've missed you for a while. Says, seriously, why tease CM Punk if he's not coming back? I mean, exactly. If they were hell-bent, they're like, he's not coming back, we're not doing business with him, you would not throw out these teases. Like, some might say, well, they just want to capitalize on the buzz, but they don't need to do that. There's no real good reason to do it unless he's actually coming back, and they want to make it as obvious as possible without actually saying he's coming back. They want to do the Bray Wyatt viral campaign and get the fans creating that buzz. Psycho Jet Black also sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Psycho Jet Black. And by the way, if you guys missed it, you could check out the little video clip on No DQ of the CM Punk Corey Graves tease, as well as the Undertaker tease for NXT. That's on NoDQ.com. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, yell Twix like George Costanza on Seinfeld. I'm not sure how he would yell that because, I mean, here's the thing, just off topic here. I was not a big Seinfeld fan. I love Curb Your Enthusiasm, one of my favorite shows, but I could not get into Seinfeld. And I actually really liked the Seinfeld Curb episodes and that whole season that was about the reunion. But the actual show, for whatever reason, I could not get into it. And I gave it a shot too. For whatever reason, I really don't like scripted sitcoms with the laugh track and everything. Just not my cup of tea. I like Curb's style better of more improv. Anyways, enough of that. Rage of Wrestling sent in a $2 super chat. Says, would you announce it ahead of time or surprise? If you're talking about CM Punk, I would have him show up at Survivor Series. After Roman Reigns retains his title against whoever he's facing, Roman Reigns gets on the mic and he tells Paul Heyman, I might as well retire now. There's nobody left to beat. Hell, maybe I'll have to beat up somebody in Chicago. And at that point, that's the cue for the fans to start chanting CM Punk. And Roman Reigns can say, like, that guy quit. He's not coming back. Give it up. And then just as he's about to leave, CM Punk's music hits and he comes out in Chicago, gets in the ring face to face with Roman Reigns. So I think they got to do CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. If it was me, I would have that match at the Royal Rumble. Roman Reigns beats him, creates some goodwill. CM Punk puts over Roman. Then you could even have CM Punk show up and either win the Rumble or win Elimination Chamber and get the match with Rollins. So they've been teasing that. Seth Rollins versus CM Punk, night one main event. Punk gets his main event that he wanted at WrestleMania. And then Cody or The Rock, probably Cody, versus Roman Reigns at night two. That's what I would do, at least, if CM Punk is coming back, which I'm leaning towards yes at this point, based off of tonight. Mike D sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Mike D. I appreciate it. It says CM Punk versus Steve Austin at WrestleMania 40. I think Austin's done. He had his comeback, and he could have done WrestleMania 39. He did not. I think that was it. I think he wanted to do it one more time, work with Kevin Owens, and he had a great comeback. He got to be on both nights of WrestleMania in his home state. Like, he doesn't have anything left to do, really. Like, he could fight CM Punk, but CM Punk needs to be in there with a current guy, I think. Like, he's getting up there. He's been getting injured. I definitely think you want Punk in there with a guy who's been working pretty regularly. I mean, in Roman's case, not so much, but, a younger guy who is still at the top of his game. Anyways, let's get to the main event segment here. I'm sure we'll be talking about CM Punk a lot for the next couple of months, so stay tuned. NoDQ.com. We had Jimmy Uso versus LA Knight in the main event of the show. Jimmy avoided the BFT early, and then Jimmy hit a super kick on the floor, worked over LA Knight. After the break, Knight made his comeback, and then Solo Sikoa came in for the DQ. Not much of a match. It was basically just a setup for the Angle post-match. So John Cena ran down to make the save, but then Judgment Day's music hit. They came out there. Rhea Ripley shook hands with Paul Heyman. Heyman said the partnership between the Bloodline and Judgment Day has been authorized. They all stood up on the apron. I really enjoyed the segment, but the only negative was that it was so blatantly obvious because they were advertising Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso for SmackDown. So it's like we already knew they were going to show up at the end. It was, in a way, anticlimactic, but at the same time, very entertaining. And I liked this because they set up Fastlane, built up some heat for that. And also, this might have been a War Games tease. Is that what Triple H's announcement is next week? Jey Uso, of course, ran down. And it was funny because the crowd was chanting Cody. Cody got a massive pop when he went out there. And they were actually singing his song. And they started brawling. But if they had waited to start the brawl, I think the crowd would have did the whole song. Like, they were singing it. They knew it word for word. It was pretty crazy how much people love Cody's song now. So there was a huge brawl, and very much could be a War Games tease. We'll see. I mean, you have to think Cody's in it, right? I mean, Cody, his dad, Dusty Rhodes, was a pioneer of War Games and helped create that match, or might have created the whole thing. We had the big brawl, and it came down to John Cena and Solo Sikoa. LA Knight came in, and he avoided the Samoan spike. He sent Solo out of the ring, and then JD McDonough got beat up by everybody. He got the BFT, and as Psycho Jet Black says, it sounds like a sandwich. Kind of does, the blunt force trauma, the BFT, like a BLT. Super kick from Jey Uso, which isn't going to hurt him at all because a super kick doesn't do anything these days. The 5-knuckle shuffle from John Cena, followed by the AA, and then Cody Rhodes finished off JD McDonough with the crossroads. And the good guys stood tall in St. Louis as SmackDown came to a close. All in all, pretty good show. Like, I wasn't too hyped for most of it, but I do think that the angles they did, especially at the end, were effective in building up the pay-per-view and potentially Survivor Series and maybe even Crown Jewel, depending on what the match is going to be for the world title. So I'm giving the show a B+. Very good SmackDown, and the ending was great. And yeah, I'm looking forward to what's coming next. Psycho Jet Black with the $2 super chat says, I'm glad Cody Rhodes is still over with the crowd. Yes, and in that instance, it showed that maybe WWE was right to have Cody continue chasing. Would he still be as over as he is if he won? Like, people were debating that. Was it the right call for him to lose at WrestleMania? You know, people were scared he was going to lose his heat, but he still has it. The crowd absolutely loves Cody Rhodes, and WWE's got some hot baby faces and some great heels too, between Dominic, Judgment Day, and the Bloodline. Like, if this is War Games, like, this is going to be a stacked War Games. I wonder if they'll do like 6-on-6 with Solo, or 5-on-5, because it would be, I guess you could include JD McDonough and make it 6-on-6. If you add KO and Sami Zayn to the good guys side, there you go. You got 6-on-6. So it would be John Cena, LA Knight, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and Kevin Owens against the 4 Judgment Day guys, Finn Bàlor, Damian Priest, Dominic Mysterio, and JD McDonough, along with Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. 6-on-6 War Games match. That's going to be hot if that's what they're doing. So I'm really curious to see where this is going. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. I very much appreciate it. And again, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, spread the word, tell a friend, yada, yada, yada. There's a Seinfeld reference for you. Take care, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. And remember, say yeah to NoDQ.com. See you next time.